to This is Obsession Gaming. Today we're going to talk about one of the times I've ran away. I don't encourage running away and disobeying your parents, but I will admit that the times I ran away personally was the most fun I've ever had, but that's my opinion. Let's start out with this little bit of backstory. I ran away from my mom once, well, more than once, but this time I ran away and I started living at a homeless shelter for teens called Hearts with a Mission. There I met two guys, let's call them Nick and Joe. I talked to Joe more often than I did Nick, even though Nick was my roommate. There they sectioned off like your rooms, two guys per room. There were like two bunk beds with like a desk on the bottom or whatever for each bed. It was weird. And they separate like the guys from the girls. But it was a very interesting place. But the reason I always ran away is because I wanted to feel free. But now that I think about it, what is free? But I found out Joe felt the same way. We wanted to be free, I guess, quotations. And we decided we were going to run away. Nick eventually found out and he wanted to do it too. I don't really know why we brought him because he's kind of really annoying, but I feel bad for him for what we did, which I will get to later on. But I think we only brought Nick because he had a phone and me and Joe didn't. But our original plan was to drop backpacks out a window from the side of the building and run because there were cameras, so we had to go be quick. But what we eventually did, I went on my own bus to my school, my middle school, and then Joe and Nick went on their bus, a completely different bus to go to their schools. But where we were wanting to go, we needed to get on Joe and Nick's bus. So that morning we packed up. We were super hyped, but we were also tired because we woke up so early to go to school. I sneaked onto Joe and Nick's bus, but the thing is the staff at Hearts with a Mission were watching, and they noticed me getting on their bus. So they walk on the bus. The thing is, they're not allowed to go like physically down the aisle because the school. I don't know. So I ducked down, and they were yelling my name, trying to find me. And the school bus driver, coolest guy ever, he literally covered for me. Like, he covered me and said he didn't see me because at the time I had hot pink hair, so it's kind of hard to not notice me at the time. So he covered for me. They left. We ended up heading to the school. A bunch of the other guys on the bus were looking at me, didn't recognize me, and they started asking us questions. We were telling them, yeah, we were running away. We didn't want to be here anymore. And we got to Nick's school, and then he skipped his bus stop. And then we went to Jeff. He was in high school. Me and Nick were at the time in 8th grade. He was like 9th or 10th grade. Joe was 9th or 10th grade. And we went to the high school, and we ended up getting off the bus, and we started walking off campus. On our way from campus, we found a cigarette pack. I was looking in the cigarette pack and looked at the bottom. There's a small little bit of weed in there. We kept that because we'll smoke it quite later. And we were walking to this abandoned building, I guess you could say. Well, that was our original plan, to go to the abandoned building. But on our way there, we remembered Joe knew a guy who could maybe lend us some bikes or something so we can get farther. It was a long walk, and when we got there, we found out he could not give us bikes because he had to go to some doctor's appointment or whatever, and who knows why. We were trying to get to a town like 3 miles away from our town that we were already in, and so we ended up walking, and I'm gonna say this is like the longest walk I've ever done along a highway. About halfway through, we were trying to hitchhike. Probably kind of a bad idea. We caught someone, and we were talking to them. We were telling them how we were hiking from California to Washington to go see some family. We were saying that Joe was 18, I was 16, and Nick was like 15, and we were allowed to be out of school. I have a feeling the guy didn't believe us, and he knew we were runaways, but he didn't want to admit it. He was just trying to be a good guy. There's some pretty cool people out there. About maybe a mile away from the town we were trying to get to, his car broke down, and I kind of felt bad that we just kind of left him there, but that's what we did. The guy was really creepy. He was asking us all kinds of questions too, so I guess, I don't know. We started walking to this town, and there we were using Nick's phone to text Joe's girlfriend, because she was supposed to meet us at some public library to smoke some weed. We go there, she's there with like her and like 2 of her guy friends, and they're all smoking weed and everything. It was kind of awkward at first because I didn't know her, and Nick didn't know her, but Joe did, of course, and they were sitting there kissing and everything. We were just kind of awkwardly third wheeling. But I guess we could 4-wheeling. I don't know. Ignore me. Well, don't ignore me. Whatever. But let's go on with the story. We ended up walking around with her for a while, and we were getting thirsty, so we decided to go to a place called Dutch Bros. This place is, I think it's only along West Coast actually, the Dutch Bros franchise. But out there they gave us some free water, so we drank that. Later, we had to decide where we were going to sleep that night. Nick and Joe, they both used to live there in that town, and they knew of kind of a cave up on a giant hillish mountain type thing. And we started walking there. Again, such a long walk. Like, oh my god, it was uphill, and it was past Joe's old house, and we had to jump a fence to get in someone's property. We go there and we find this cave, and I'm talking to Joe. We decided Nick, he's being a little bit annoying. This is the part I regret. We thought he was being too annoying and we wanted to ditch him. But we needed his phone. Joe took his phone. He didn't like take it. He was already holding on to it. He said he's gonna take it with us. We're gonna go collect some firewood for a fire because we had a lighter. And we told Nick to stay behind and build like a fire pit out of some rocks. We started walking. We didn't come back. We heard him yelling, and I really felt bad for him. I regret what we did for him, and I'm truly sorry if he ever watches this video. I've talked to him a few times since then, not in person, but apparently he forgives me, but I feel like he's still pissed at me. But maybe someday he'll get over it, even though I feel really bad. But we started walking away, and we were walking along this fence line, and we kind of saw into the backyard of Joe's old house. We saw a little fort he made like when he was younger. It was really cool. We were thinking about sleeping in there, but someone was living in that house now, so we decided not to. We finally found the fence we hopped over to get in the place originally, and we hopped back over to leave. And on our way down, we were kind of getting hungry. We didn't have any money, and we didn't really know where to get food. Then Joe realized we could just go to one of his old neighbors' houses. But before that, we were thinking about maybe stealing someone's bike, go down, find some food, eat. I don't know. Kind of a stupid plan. Then we realized he knew some people that might give us food. We go over to their house. This older woman, she was so happy to see Joe. Apparently, she hasn't seen him for a long time. She was so happy to feed us. We had like this fried rice and chicken and who knows what. And then we took a few apples and brought that with us in case we got hungry later, and some bread. Then we left her house and we decided we need to walk down. We needed to figure out where we were going to sleep tonight. Seriously. Like, we needed to know. We decided we were going to walk back to the abandoned house we were supposed to go to in the first place. As we were walking there, we decided to try and hitchhike again. But when we did, a police officer, we didn't notice it was a police officer. It was a black car. It was pitch black. We couldn't see a thing. We're walking, and we see a car. We try to hitchhike. We realize it's a police car. We freaked out and ran into this cornfield to our right. Just booked it. Like, you have no idea how fast we went. We were so scared. Luckily, the police officer didn't notice us and just kept driving. So, like we did, we kept walking. When we got to this abandoned house, we couldn't really see it as much because it was dark. We didn't have enough time to really check it out, explore. As soon as we got there, we decided we were just gonna try and sleep. I remember this being the worst night of sleep I ever had. Ever. It was freezing cold. All I had was my coat to use as a blanket. I was literally curled up in a ball in my shirt with my coat over me. Just on the ground, because we couldn't see, we couldn't find it, see if there were any like old blankets. Maybe this is late to kind of tell you, but Joe was telling me how this old house used to be a meth lab too, so it was definitely interesting. So we knew there was a bunch of crap there that we could use for who knows what. Like I know there was a few couches, and some blankets, but that morning we woke up. We didn't really explore. We kind of just left because Joe knew a place. He used to kind of work with his dad in an old like car shop or whatever. We go there, but of course his dad still owns the place. The place is closed too at the time, just for the day. And Joe knew where they left the key for the garage. And in that garage, there was a fridge with food. So he found the key. We opened the door, and in there was like an ATV, a car, and stuff. Of course they didn't work. Otherwise they work. You just go four-wheeled. It'd be fun. But in there in the fridge, all we really found was a 6-pack of beer, some bread, and some oranges. So we took all of that, and we went back to the abandoned house. We were thinking, we need to get a few more towns apart from the town we're already at. We were thinking we needed money for that. Joe knew a bus fare that only took like $2 a person to get to a few towns. We were trying to do that. But the way we were going to do that is get cans. And getting cans was actually quite easy. We were walking by, we saw some guy packing up some cans. We're like, you know what? We're going to ask that guy, see if he needs help with that. Maybe we can get some money. The guy decided to just give us all the cans. And we were later going to decide to take it to a gas station. This gas station, the only bad thing, someone there who knows Joe would really rat us out, so we couldn't go there right away. So we decided to just finally go to the abandoned house, finally explore it. There was spray paint cans everywhere. Had a lot of fun. And then the kitchen, oh my god, the kitchen. You open up a drawer, a cabinet, or anything, it's just a crap load of shake. If you don't know what shake is, it's like a old marijuana, weed, bud, whatever you call it, that sticky icky. We decided we wanted to smoke that because, why not? I found a few cans. That's probably the most ghetto way to smoke it. Just literally just dent the can slightly in one area, put a hole in the side, put a hole in the top where the dent is. Put the weed on, you smoke it out of the mouthpiece of the can. And we did that for a while. I didn't really get a high exactly. And because it wasn't very great, we decided to burn it in the fireplace. Then we pretty much hotboxed that whole house. Like, oh my god. Afterwards, we were a little tired and we decided to go for a walk. This walk wasn't very long. We just kind of walked around the house, just finding what there was. We found a crap load of movies, and we found a TV. We were trying to find. We knew there wasn't one electrical port that still had electricity, and we eventually found it. We were just watching like some old movie. I can't remember what it was called. What was it? I think it had like Eddie Murphy in it. And we ended up dragging a couch and a mattress over to this area and ended up falling asleep. Later after that, Joe's girlfriend came over to the abandoned house. She brought good weed. It wasn't this shake. We started smoking that just, for fun. It was actually pretty good. Got high eyes red, we were baked. But, like, oh my god. I started getting these thoughts in my head, like, oh my god, I have a little brother. I need to get back to him. And then I started thinking about my family, my friends. Will I ever get to see them again? I regret thinking about these things because I really truly wanted to be free. I didn't want to abide by laws and other people in this democracy. I didn't want to do these things. So I started feeling guilty, and I got this feeling in my stomach. And then I found this little card on the ground. It was something about Dear Dad or whatever. But I read it, and I related to my mom's, well, now ex-boyfriend, but he was my only father figure in my life. And I really felt bad for him because him and my mom were breaking up. And then I realized he was also, he's my only father figure. And I know how he feels right now because I know how he felt other times I ran away. And I got really guilty. I didn't know what to do. I was having like an anxiety attack. I started freaking out, but I didn't want Joe to know. We didn't know where Nick was at this point, of course. This was only the second day. But I started freaking out, and I was trying to hide it. And I got Joe eventually fell asleep with his girlfriend. They were cuddling or whatever. They didn't want me in that room, so who knows what they were doing. They didn't know. But I decided I was gonna leave. I wanted to go back home. You know, because I'm a pussy and I can't handle it. So I went to the gas station across the street, because this abandoned house is kind of in a foresty area. So I walked out of this foresty area to the main street, across the street to the gas station. I got the phone, and I called my mom's ex. He came and got me, and took me back to Hearts of the Mission, where we met up with my mom and the manager. Well, not manager, one of the guidance counselors. His name was Ryan, which he was a dick. I'll talk about him in another story. But pretty much, Nick did make his way back. They found him at a Taco Bell like late, like 3 in the morning. His fat ass was probably eating some Belgrandes or whatever. How do I pronounce that? Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. But they questioned me, and I didn't give out Joe, because we all made an agreement that if any of us got caught, we left. We wouldn't rat each other out on our locations. And I didn't, so I didn't tell them where Joe went. After that, me and my mom had a huge argument, because my mom was wanting to move to another state to meet up with her new boyfriend. And I was mad. I didn't want to go, because I lived there most of my life. And I didn't want to be ripped away from my family, friends, and everything I love. Everything I know. So, huge argument. I ended up living with my mom's ex until we moved. And those last days before we moved, all I did was hang out with friends, just constant. And it was kind of parties and weed and the alcohol. It's just, I've done so many bad things that I kind of regret some of them, but then there's some where I'm like, hell yeah, that was fun. But that's all for today. You got that story of one of the times I ran away. I have plenty more stories of when I ran away, so like this video and subscribe if you want to hear more. See ya.